I can also see the point of view of the people that say, yeah, but you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit. ICE are villains, and now people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city, and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right? Because if you get arrested by a cop, you're allowed to ask the cop, what is your name and badge number? And you could film that cop. If you get arrested by an ICE agent, you have no such right. They're wearing a mask. They don't have to tell you. It's also very ugly to watch someone shoot a U.S. citizen, especially a woman, in the face, right? Where it's like, I'm not that guy. I don't know what he thought. And again, this is a guy who had almost been run over, but it just looked horrific to me. I mean, when people say it's justifiable because the car hit him, it seemed like she was kind of turning the car away.
Podcaster Joe Rogan criticizing the Trump administration's targeted ICE operations and the agency's aggressive enforcement tactics.
And you know, Willie, it's when you have somebody like Joe Rogan who supported the president talking about, in Joe Rogan's words, Gestapo-type tactics, talking about the masks, talking about how these people aren't even like police officers, because with police officers, they pull up. There's a process. You talk to them. There's a process. You can see who they are. You can communicate back and forth. Everything about this seems to spike tensions on both sides. And I will tell you, looking at the videos yesterday following the killing of Renee Good, it was hard not to come to the conclusion that they may be trying to ramp up tensions. ICE may be intentionally trying to ramp up tensions. They want this confrontation, despite the fact we've shown polls in the last hour that show that something like 46% of Americans now want ICE abolished. We've shown polls that since Kristi Noem took over ICE in February, the approval rating for the agency has gone down 30%, and barely a third of Americans think that ICE shooter that killed Renee Good by firing point blank 2 shots from the side at her, they think that force was not justified. And yet they're ramping it up, Willie. It doesn't seem to make much sense at all. Here's YouGov, only 30% think that shooting was justified. So if you were listening to podcasts and watching TV shows and living in a world, reading things online where you think that you are with America and America is with you on point blank shooting of Renee Good, you're wrong. You are dead wrong. Not even 1/3 of Americans agree with you, Willie. It just seems like the White House is making things worse for the people of Minneapolis and making things worse for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this many times, but the president lives a bubble of his own, where he's hearing from his advisors, where he's hearing from his media sources, where he's hearing from his base and his supporters that officer did the right thing in that case. But the American public disagrees, as these numbers show again and again and again. Joe Rogan is an extraordinarily important voice. He has a massive audience of people. Many of them are Trump supporters. He supported Donald Trump in the 2024 election. But he also is a clear thinker who, when he sees something with his own eyes, he knows what he's looking at. He's seen enough of it. He's heard enough about it to draw some conclusions from what he's seeing, and not just the incident where Renee Good was shot in the head, but all these other images that you're just talking about, Joe, where you have masked men dressed for war, pulling people out of cars after breaking their windows, going into Targets and dragging U.S. citizens out, now pursuing refugees, Somali refugees who've been vetted through a security process and come to this country to escape what's happening in Somalia. They're being dragged out for the crime of being Somali, even though they're here legally. So This all adds up to the poll numbers that you just showed us. So 1 week now after the ICE officer shot and killed Renee Good, clashes between residents and federal agents are intensifying across Minnesota. State Representative Michael Howard tells the New York Times, quote, "It feels like our community is under siege by our own federal government." President of the Minneapolis City Council, Elliot Payne, says, quote, "This is a military occupation, and it feels like a military occupation." Videos like this one from a gas station in St. Paul show chaotic scenes of agents using extraordinarily aggressive tactics to make arrests, smashing car windows, forcefully pulling people from their vehicles, pinning them down, dragging them across the ground. This is another arrest from that same stop where a man pleads with officers, telling them he is not resisting.
I'm not resisting. Hey, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. This is how you spend your life? Hey, can somebody grab my phone? You a cheap JV? Hey, give it to my girlfriend. I got your phone. That's what you want? I got you. Who do you need us to contact? Hey, my girlfriend's right behind you. Give us a phone number. My girlfriend's right behind me.
Once you guys get him in, let's get him into Victor 3, okay?
I'm going to Victor 3. That's what they said. Victor 3. Get up. Give him a good pat down. Once you get him up, give him a good pat down. Get up. Get him up. All right, we got you. Pick up the neck. Pick up the neck. Back up, you guys.
Stay back. Stay back.
It's a gas station in St. Paul, Minnesota. A similar scene unfolded late last week at a Target in Richfield, Minnesota, where employees watched as their two co-workers, both United States citizens, according to local officials, were seized by federal agents.
I don't know. I think I can't see. I can't see.
I think it's Johnny.
Hang on.
Step back.
Hang on.
Do they have it? Crystal? You guys have everything you need? You have the warrant? You have everything to be taking him right now. Both of them. Where is the paperwork? Where is the paperwork?
Manny, what are we doing? Manny.
This isn't it. This isn't it right now. Not Minneapolis. Where is the paperwork? Where is the warrant? Where are their warrants? Is anybody else going to ask for the
Get on the phone. Hey, no.
have the right to know how
Get on the phone.
Stay back.
Go on the phone.
and clear
Make a phone call. Go make a phone call right now.
Willie, this is happening to American citizens in suburban neighborhoods, in suburban America. When Joe Biden left office, crime was at its lowest rate since the early 1960s. People were starting to feel safe in the streets again. And we're seeing every day images of terror coming out of suburban neighborhoods, at suburban gas stations, in suburban Targets, in suburban streets, in suburban neighborhoods where people are trying to go to their doctor's appointments or people are trying to go to church. Videos of a man telling ICE agents swarming his car, "Hey, I'm praying for you. You should let me go to church. You should let these people go to church." Willie, these images are unthinkable. And again, this is what we used to see and why we used to feel superior to Russia and to China and to the old Soviet Union, because we would see people picked up on the street like this in those countries for merely protesting. Now that is happening to American citizens in American neighborhoods, in the suburbs, in America. And anybody who believes that there's anything American about that, well, they must have just immigrated here from Beijing, because there's nothing American about what's going on right now in American cities.
And you ask yourself as you watch those videos, okay, what is the alleged crime? What did these people possibly do that would warrant that kind of response. And as you say, often it's protesting the presence of ICE officers, say, inside a Target, or, as Joe Rogan said, not showing your papers. Your papers. Think about that. So as these videos have come out, President Trump continues to post on Truth Social yesterday, writing, "The day of reckoning and retribution is coming for Minnesota." Cryptic message, unclear what he means exactly by that. Mike Barnicle's at the table with us. Mike, just as you watch one video after another, you think a little bit about the arc of history as well. What do you see here?
I was talking recently with an old friend of mine, my oldest friend, who came back from Vietnam at the end of 1969 with a Silver Star and memories that he still carries to this very moment on this very morning. And he was telling me he didn't sign up for any of this. He didn't sign up for an America that has disappeared in front of his eyes over these past 2 weeks. The Minneapolis Police Department has about 600 sworn officers. There are over 2,000 ICE members on the streets of Minneapolis. A 14-year-old walking to school, taken right off the streets by ICE. A woman, as we've shown here this morning, on her way to a doctor's appointment, ripped out of her car, thrown onto the street, taken by ICE. But ICE has taken much more off the streets than just the people in Minneapolis. ICE has taken the reality of what America used to be and thrown it away. And this is not going away. This is not going to disappear in several news cycles from now. This is not going to disappear during summer days when people are happy and scot-free in places like Martha's Vineyard or Santa Monica, California. This is the America that the Trump administration, version 2, has brought to the world. And sadly for the Trump administration, it has stamped itself on the minds, I think, of many Americans who now wonder, what have we done? What are we doing? All of this is an obscenity fostered by the government of the United States of America.
And all of this is deeply unpopular with the American people. Let's show some polls right now. You have 46% of Americans who now are saying they think ICE needs to be abolished. 46%. Keep that up. ICE is an agency that in February of 2025 had like a plus 14 approval rating. Before Kristi Noem took over, ICE had a positive approval rating. Before Donald Trump allowed Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller to run his White House and run American streets like they were St. Petersburg or Moscow, ICE had an approval rating that was positive. Now, 46% of Americans seeing these images and hearing the stories that Mike Barnicle just talked to you about, 46% of Americans think that ICE should be abolished. And those numbers will go up every day as these heinous videos come in. And you do wonder, is anybody awake in the White House that can go tell the president, you are destroying your presidency, you are destroying what Americans thought was your strongest issue. You are destroying Republicans' chances to win in November. It's a good question. I mean, the shooting, you look at the shooting of Renee Good, let's look at the polls there. Only 30% of Americans, according to YouGov, believe that that shooting was justified. Now, if you were a part of, let's say, a MAGA podcast, or you were listening to MAGA podcasts this week, or you were watching MAGA news networks this week that were parroting everything that the president wanted them to parrot, that was basically reading Kristi Noem press release statements and buying completely in to the fact that they think it's normal that a young woman who was turning her steering wheel sharply to the right to try to get out of the area is shot twice from the side of her car at point blank range with the gun aimed at her head by a police officer who's fumbling around, walking in front of the car and fumbling around with an iPhone and a gun in her hand. Now look at this. Second shot there, third shot there. From the side of the car. And if you think that is normal in America, and you think it's normal that the Justice Department is covering this killing up, that there's not even an investigation, then, man, you're even more MAGA than Tom Holman. Because Tom Holman actually said what responsible law enforcers say. Look at this. Shot 2 right at her.
Yeah.
And then shot 3 as she pulls away. Tom Holman rightfully said, let's not just look at a video and make assumptions. Let's have an investigation. The White House says no investigation.
Yes, justified. Yeah.
No investigation. So all of these numbers show, Mika, that this is tearing Minneapolis apart, and those numbers show that the overwhelming majority of Americans see all of this as being deeply un-American.
Yeah.